republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not my last meeting.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Varla,
Here.
trustees Mercado,
Here.
Bendenagle,
Here.
Shaver,
Here.
Yeager,
Here.
all present.
Let me find out who this person is.
That's Jim Condon.
Is it? Okay. Item number 2 is public comment. I did not see anybody signed up at the table.
I have to ask the clerk. Where's the folders for the trustees?
I accidentally brought them in here with me and gave them to Gary to sign.
And then, where did I put them? I gave them to the clerk. No.
Where's the folders for them to read?
Okay. We're so efficient with our bills that we've already done our bills. I thought you were looking for these. Okay, so item 3 is approval of the meeting minutes from the May 11th discussion. I'll make it possible. Let me slow down here. Item number 3 is an approval for the Mchenry Township regular meeting minutes on May 11th, 2023. I'll make that motion for discussion and possible action. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Great, how are you?
I have no discussion. And I make a motion we approve the minutes of April 11th, May 11th, rather.
I'll second the motion to approve the minutes.
All those in favor of the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Nope. We got one abstention. Trustee Bendenagle, and motion passes. Okay. Yeah. Town fund.
That's who gets to know.
It's your choice.
Shaver,
It usually starts left to right.
Yeah, I didn't want to use a gambling reference.
All righty, we, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on this 8th day of June 2023 examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $17,224.86. Total bills paid prior to audit, $28,235.25. Total to be approved, $45,460.11. Total receipts, $39,667.57. Make a motion that we approve and pay the bills.
Second. Trustee Yeager is the second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Varla,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Mercado,
Yes.
Bendenagle,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, number 5. Moving on to the General Road and Bridge Fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 8th day of June 2023, examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payments of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $285.25. Total bills to be approved, $29,815.69. Total bills paid prior to audit, $7,094.53. Total to be approved, $37,195.47. Total receipts, $56,773.04. I make a motion that we pay these bills.
I'll second the motion.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Supervisor Barlow.
Yes.
Trustees Shaver.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Credo.
Yes.
Vandenagel.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Permanent hard road.
I'll make a motion for approval of receipts and bills for permanent hard road fund. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 8th day of June 2023 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payment of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, none. Total bills to be approved, $13,551.97. Total bills paid prior to audit, $27,922.88. Total to be approved is $41,474.85. Total receipts, $1,309.57. Again, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Supervisor Barlow.
Yes.
Trustees Shaver.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Credo.
Yep.
Vandenagel.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Okay, item number 7 is fund transfers. We do not have any so far. Item number 8, first item up for new business is 8.1. Discussion and possible RC car dirt track.
Yes, so I'm still waiting for an email for further information to see if I can secure some possible donations or funding. Little tidbit, one of the people that did respond to me was a childhood hero of mine that raced RC cars professionally, and now he's like working for one of the manufacturers. And so had some good dialogue there. Still need to identify where within the township we think this could be, and maybe scout some locations. I don't know if we need to get public comment or public opinion. If it's, you know, in a certain spot or what have you. And now that the road commissioner is here as well, you know, maybe just discuss any possible assistance that would be needed from his folks if this was something that we were to go down the path of. But I don't have an official update on this necessarily.
Okay, so you'd like to make a motion to move this to the next meeting?
We can, yes. Make a motion to move it to the next meeting.
I'll second it. All those in favor of moving 8.1 to the next meeting?
Aye.
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 Sounds like all ayes.
Nice.
Yep.
Supervisor Barlow,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to let you know, the road district is happy to work with exactly that, no problem. We're glad to help you out with, I think we just did a whole bunch of stuff down by the ball field, so yeah. The road district is obviously part of the township, and we're ready to work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll save it for next month. Okay, 8.2, discussion of pickleball courts, discussion and possible action. I guess, John, you'll make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. to
I'll
discuss
second it.
the pickleball courts. That was asked by a not driver, I should say. I think it was Sue Rose, who wanted me to look into the pickleball courts. I've talked to Superior Paving for the asphalt. It looks like, a good friend of mine has been working for Superior Paving for years. I've talked to Dick's Sporting Goods, they're waiting for them to get back to me on the nets. The rest is the fencing, and I'm pretty sure I can get the fencing from Home Depot, but that might, again, not happen until next spring, because that's usually when they do their grant program for us, and they've been very good helping us, actually. And that's where that stands. I don't know when I'll hear from Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm pretty sure Superior Paving will let me know within a month.
So, this is wonderful news that you're out looking for funding, and I truly appreciate it. But who's going to do all the engineering and drawing of the plans that we have to submit to the Village of Johnsburg to build all of this? And where's that money going to come from?
Supervisor.
Go ahead.
Gosh.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Barlow,
Yeah.
can I be recognized?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, just remember that previous trustees made sure that I was recognized before I ever talked.
Doing a good job.
I would tell you that I happen to know a certain silly civil engineer
There you go.
that may know how to come up with a plan to assist with that.
Okay.
And I suspect the Township Road District probably would be glad to help with the preliminary grading and get it to grade for a paver to come in and do the paving part of it.
Okay.
So I would volunteer the road district services to assist with any pickleball courts, provided when the trustees challenge me and beat me and embarrass me.
Thank you, Jim.
So
I think it's, I'm sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. So I guess, you know, I'm all for adding activities to the township. Let that be known. But I'm also on the backside concerned about its ongoing maintenance and things of that nature that cost township money. So is the board prepared to put money into the budget to be able to maintain this for 20 years going down the road? Meaning each year you're gonna have to do something, whether it be paint, nets, paddles, balls, replacing fencing, doing all of those things that we already do around the township. We're just gonna add this to it. So that's my only concern, is that we're in a little bit of a pinch for funding right now. And until we understand where we're going in the future, I think this is a wonderful idea. I'm not saying no, but we need to understand exactly the impact to ongoing pickleball courts. It's just like anything that we add. We got to make sure that it's sustainable. And number one, is it going to fit into the township funds, or will it be funded from private funds down the road?
That's a very valid point, Gary. And when I talked to the gentleman at Dick's Sporting Goods, I'll see how far we're willing to carry,
Okay, yeah.
you know, to carry the.
And I understand it's a partnership. It
Right.
could be a 3, 5, 7-year
Yeah, right.
deal or whatever. I think those are kind of things that we want to work out before we really jump into breaking dirt and things
Totally
like
agree.
that. Okay. So I guess this is, I guess you'll make a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
No, I'm not saying next meeting until I have more information,
Okay.
more definitive information.
And I'll amend my second to go along with that to the next meeting. Or when he has more information, he'll bring it back. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? No. We're moving on. Old business. Discussion and recording of public meetings and discussion of public action. Discussion and possible action, excuse me.
Okay, so we did.
Do we want a motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion to discuss.
I'll second.
Okay, John and Adam, or Mr. Mercredo and Mr. Shaver.
Thank you.
We have motion, all those in favor of discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Let it rip.
Okay, so we did try to download the free trial or whatever, could not get it to work. Well, the free trial is only for the app on your phone, okay? The actual Dragon software for a computer is not a free trial offer. So we were unable to download that without the board approving the $800 expense to test it. So we have not gone any further with Dragon, just so you know. That's all I got.
I mean, from my point of view, I don't know if we're willing to spend money on that program. It's just from my point of view, of course.
I would say, without knowing, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, right.
Because you already can get, you have the YouTube video, so.
Yeah, I think from my point of view too, like, all of us are really great at using the microphone, as I'm seeing tonight. And so, the challenges that we have with the YouTube transcribing is gonna be the same challenges with that piece of software.
Right, so if for the phone, they suggest that it's more like a dictation type app, but on the computer, it would kind of be the same thing, you're gonna be dictating into the computer.
And none of us are gonna be near
No.
the clerk's phone, so,
Correct.
I say we quash that and do what we have to do to make use
Just
of
keep
the
going while
current
we're going.
available.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So the motion is to end the discussion on the recording of public meetings. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Supervisor Greg Marla.
Yes,
Can I be recognized?
you sure can.
I just wanted to point out tonight, seriously, on a serious note, wanted to point out tonight, there were no comments on the meeting minutes, so apparently we're headed in the right direction. We're getting exactly where we need to be, a little, back and forth, and I think we're headed in the right direction, so I definitely would support changing exactly what you did tonight and pass up on that, so. Apparently the clerk has figured out what you guys are trying to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Okay. 2.1, discussion on ongoing emergency assistance and discussion and possible action. I don't exactly.
I know I brought that up.
John had brought that up.
So
He
John, you
had
want
a question
discussion?
for the attorney. The attorney was going to give us information on it.
Right.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion that we,
I don't remember what you sent last meeting.
I'll make a motion that we open up a discussion on emergency assistance.
For me, it was the guidelines.
Wait, before you do that, we need a second.
Yeah,
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
okay. So all those in favor of discussion, say aye.
Aye.
For me, it was
Oh, yeah.
the guidelines and responsibilities, who assigns, who outlines the program.
Who's in
and
charge?
who's entitled to get emergency assistance.
Great question. You have to take a step backwards and say, is it, first of all, is it required? It's not.
No.
Emergency, I
Yes,
think we've all made that determination.
Yeah, they already know.
Okay, the second issue is if there is emergency assistance and this board funds in the budget a line item for emergencies, then there's some funds there available. The next issue is then who's in control of those funds in order to make those determinations. The township supervisor in this case is ex officio, and he's in charge of setting that up. I received a copy of this, which is, it looked like it was an effective one, January 14th, 2022, which was the Mchenry Township Emergency Assistance Program.
Yes, but who writes that? Who writes those guidelines?
So this is written by the this is written by the supervisor.
Correct, I understand
okay?
that.
But where does that come from? That comes from 305 ILCS /5-610, which is emergency financial assistance.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. In fact, I'll give you a copy of it.
That's even better.
So, I do, actually. I don't, that's it, copies.
Do you want me to make
No,
copies?
I'm good, unless somebody else wants one, I can email it to them. But the guidelines, it kind of going to Trustee McCready's standpoint is what does it say? Well, in that section of the statute, it talks about emergency financial assistance to do two things: alleviate life-threatening circumstances, or to assist the individual in attaining self-sufficiency. So that guideline that you're asking for, if somebody came in and said, "Hey, you know what? I want to take the trip to Ohio or whatever," that wouldn't be something within the guideline. Self-sufficiency, life-threatening situations, gas, electric, things like that, maybe be turned off. Somebody's, bettering themselves as far as maybe going to get a job. Things where they're putting themselves out there and they're becoming self-sufficient. So these items on these lists would attempt to fall within those parameters. I did have a couple of comments on my response to that list. It's just some clarification
We've
pieces.
updated that list.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay. So, John, I did have some issues on some of these things, and one is some clarifications of it.
Clarify.
And kind of better define it, and, we're talking about the applicant making application and the individual, and there could be more than one applicant or more than one individual, and then what is defined by single, or an applicant, and what's defined by family. Now, IDHS has their own definition of family, so that's already out there, so they can work within those guidelines. But really, what is to be given should fall within those two parameters. Now, it's then within the supervisor's guideline to then set those pieces up.
I
And
don't see that in here, that's.
What do you mean?
There's nothing in here about supervisor's guidelines.
No, it talks about the emergency financial, alleviate the life-threatening circumstances.
Correct, no, I see that, yeah.
Yeah, so then the supervisor would be the individual,
Where does it state that in the law? That's,
yeah, that would be in 70-50. That was my only copy, but I can get that for anybody else. And so the township supervisor should be the excess of the general assistance in the township and shall administer the general assistance.
no, I didn't agree with the
program.
administrative program, I understand that totally. But here's where I was coming from.
Okay,
The board decides how much money we're gonna spend on emergency
absolutely,
assistance.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
why wouldn't the board assign how much money goes to each different line item? I'm gonna call it line item, even though it's not the correct terminology.
Great question,
Category.
great question. So.
Where's that come from?
Well, the board has the authority to put together the budget, right?
Correct.
Approve the budget. And if there's specific line items saying,
Just call them categories.
you can call them categories, emergency assistance for life-threatening, or whatever the particular category may be, then you have now identified specific categories that you're spending those funds. The only downside on that is now you've identified specific categories,
Right.
and you may have some categories, utilities, which you're spending more than shelter, or whatever that, you know what I mean?
Sure,
So
sure.
versus having the fund, and then you're then paying out on the fund.
Again,
It also doesn't give us the flexibility to help somebody that doesn't fall under a specific,
Okay.
but it will alleviate a life-threatening issue, or it may help them get to the next step that they need to better be
Understood.
self-sufficient.
So, but I think I want to tie this together then for John. Then the question, I think what he's saying to me then is, well, Jim, where does it in the law say that the supervisor can do that? Is that what I'm,
well, sort of, I mean,
Okay.
for me, it's like,
keep going down. So-
and I'm not trying to,
So if you look at that section, so it says 70-50, right? But if you keep reading, it says the general, in the township, as provided in Articles 6,
shall
9, right,
administrate general assistance.
shall be ex officio of the general assistance in the township and shall administer the general assistance program. And then it says of the Illinois Public Aid 305 ILCS 5/6-1 et sec, which is that other statute that I did.
Just, yeah, correct.
Right. So,
Again, you missed my point.
okay, I'm listening.
How do I explain this? We decided, I can't remember the dollar amount.
He wants to know who puts down $1,200 max, $300 max, $750.
Correct.
He wants to know,
That's
does the
the-
board
Who
make
makes
the
those
decision or
decisions?
do I?
You do.
The board, so the board has no say in how that money is spent.
The board does not have a say how the money's spent. The board has a say as how much money can be spent.
Okay, again, where do I find that in the law?
Which part?
The part I just showed you.
As far as,
Yeah, it's not in these documents you just gave me.
it's in within this section. we're
Emergency
saying-
assistance is not necessarily general assistance.
Except, if you keep reading, it says, and shall administer the general assistance program.
It's all
To
within
administrate, I
general
agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of the
I agree they have to
public-
administrate it. Oh, there's no doubt they're gonna administrate the program.
So,
My question is, the outline he just gave you, who makes a decision on how much money we spend on housing, utilities?
So
Is it
you
the board?
give me a budget.
Well, we give you the
emergency
budget,
assistance.
but the breakdown is my question. Who defines the breakdown of that money?
John, may I ask a question? Are you referring back to like when we were trying to determine what the amount was that we were going to grant? That we've gone down the path to say like, hey, we want to be able to stretch this, can we,
That's part of where I'm coming from.
Like, can we
Exactly.
do this?
I'm trying to stretch the money.
yeah,
That's
can
right.
we do this or that? And the
Right.
response was, I think you at that point said like, well, Gary creates that, not us.
That's
So-
what
so
Gary's
we-
comment was, he
Yeah.
creates that. And that's what I'm going back to, because I'm trying to stretch the money, is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
great point. I think, and so, on the flip side, let's just flip it
Right.
around. I'd be saying, you, John, where does it say that the trustees have the authority to set the guidelines for this?
I
In the
totally,
statute.
I totally
And
agree
so-
with that. I totally agree with that.
And so I'm left with, or the township's left with, this section that says the townships shall be, so he's in charge of making those decisions relative to this 5/61, which is the emergency assistance. So my best answer I could say is the supervisor can make this guidelines, The board would set the amount of budget monies for the funds if they want to fund it. And I think the board can certainly give whatever resolution to the supervisor that for recommendations is what they could see, but at the end of the day, it will be the supervisor's decision.
But supervisor, they have to administer it, there's no doubt about that.
Correct.
There's no doubt about that. Again, get back to what Ann said, I'm just trying to get the money to stretch. And if it seems like there's no flexibility in there, though, to serve more people, is where I'm coming from.
That's a great point. I mean, and so I think that those are great points, and I would probably encourage all those positive points be brought to the supervisor so that that process can be updated.
Well, that's where I was trying to come from.
Which we did incorporate into the new
Yeah.
document.
In the new one, right.
Yeah.
We incorporated that into the new one so we could
Now, if you're
broaden it.
if you're speaking to, let's say, $1,200 per household on shelter and utilities, for rent and utilities. So if you're asking me is that we take that and only give out $500, you're not gonna help anybody at $500. You can't pay rent for
I
$500.
agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't understand what's wrong with the program.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with the program.
Like
I'm
John is just trying to
Just trying to
clarify.
figure
Yeah,
out.
I'm just trying to
how
clarify it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the program.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
I guess
no, I don't have a
for
problem with
purposes of
program.
clarification, my opinion is that the supervisor would be in charge of defining this.
If anything, I'm looking to expand the program, okay? I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and I think those are great suggestions, and I think all those suggestions should be
Address.
addressed and good comments given to the supervisor so that he can better assimilate it and put that together.
The board can bring those to the supervisor at any
Absolutely.
time and that can be updated.
Absolutely. And if the
We
board-
normally only look at it twice a year. Me and Gary will look
Yeah.
at it twice a year. But it could be actually updated at any time.
But this board sees the spending in the.
Correct. They're
So
given that.
Every month they
Right.
see what was
And I
spent.
see that on the report.
Right.
And so if you see that you're spending more money in emergency, that.
Anything can be changed,
And you
yeah.
see that, you know what, we like what we're doing here and we want to increase those funds, that's within your prerogative.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I thought once we decided on it, that's where it was.
No,
John, could I have?
no.
No,
you can
because we're
certainly-
not, we
you can
did
certainly
not
do that.
adopt the TOI Emergency Assistance Handbook. You can make those changes at any given time.
Can we get a copy of the documentation on the new updated program? You're saying that you've changed.
Yeah, 'cause we never
the budget
did
meetings?
Yeah, you did.
It was in last
You
month.
guys all should have it in from your last packet, but I can email that out
Those
tomorrow
packets are
morning.
68 pages long.
Oh, you got it there. You want me to make
You can
copies?
make
No.
copies of that
Yeah,
one.
thank you. So, I mean, I'm to the point where I don't have a problem putting this on the next ballot to increase emergency assistance for the taxpayers, to see if they're willing to support their neighbors. But that's a board decision. We can decide as a board if we want to put it on as a,
Sure, if you're going to go for, if you're gonna go for.
we can do it as a board, we can do it.
Are you talking about increasing the
Yes.
rate, the rate itself?
Put a rate there, just like conservation's getting 3%, and I didn't know that till like a month ago, when Gary told me. Man, they're getting more than the township is.
I mean, you can raise, but you have to do the resolution.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, is we should put, maybe 2% goes to emergency assistance, or 1%, I don't know. But that's where I'd like to come from.
Well, one of the issues that you have as a township, your line item, your funds are subject to property tax extension limits, say PTEL.
Correct,
And so
correct.
it says you can't go any more than 5%, the CPR 5% or whatever the lesser amount is. So when you have your CPI, which is clearly over 6%, over 5-6% now, you're only going to get whatever that marginal increase or that 5% increase.
No, hang on, I think there's a disconnect. You're talking about increasing property tax.
Correct.
John is saying he wants the electors to decide how much of the budget goes towards the emergency assistance.
Correct, that's what I'm talking about.
Not increasing the overall tax burden, but John wants to earmark a certain percentage of the budget.
That's a different good point.
Well, that's the question, that's
So,
what I'm
so,
thank you.
so
Ed.
that is not a binding question. That's more of, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. That's not a binding question. So you could put that question out there, but it's merely advisory, meaning you're just looking and soliciting your constituents for an opinion as to that value. Now, whether it's whatever it is, you're still gonna make the decision. It has no binding effect.
But what you were saying was if we said, hey, we want to raise taxes, then there would be a referendum
and that has a binding effect.
That's what I'm looking for. Can we put a referendum on there allowing a certain percentage of money to go towards emergency assistance?
Sure, you have to take it somewhere else out of the budget.
Well, yeah, but just like conservation's getting 3%.
No, but John, you just said the referendum is only if we're increasing how much people even pay.
Yeah, let me go grab
What
my.
you're asking for is just, you're asking for backing from the electors to say, yes, we agree with your decision.
No, what I'm looking for is that the electors decide every $5 of my tax bill goes towards emergency assistance. That's what I'm looking for. And I just draw out $5. Because, you know, what's the township get, $17 a household?
Well, you would have to figure
You'd
out.
have to look to see what the EAV
Yeah, you'd have to
is
look
for
at
the year.
what the EAV is and figure out what's currently being assessed and what that looks like on a tax bill.
You can't
And then,
really
and
do
then in
that.
that particular
Because
case,
that
then you are
changes.
Well, how does
increasing the
conservation
tax
get to
rate
3%?
to get to whatever number you're looking to
Yeah.
get to,
Which I don't, yeah.
which is
The
different
referendum.
than
Same way
what
we
you're saying
levy.
originally.
No,
Well,
but they
and
created
what he's asking,
conservation,
yeah, we
for the
didn't-
money to go towards
We
conservation.
didn't want to
But
raise
then
the
it was a
taxes
separate
this year. so
discussion.
I don't know.
Oh, you could, yeah.
Jim, the
might-
conservation gets 3%. How'd that come about?
That's their, John, that's their tax rate, like,
I
just like
understand that,
the
but why
township
can't we
has
do
a
an
tax
emergency
rate.
assistance for the same thing? 0.5%, 2%, whatever.
What you're saying is you would want, okay, the township, I don't know what the percentage is, I'm just gonna throw out a number.
Well, yes, exactly.
Let's say the township gets 3% of someone's property.
1.3.
value.
Yeah, it's 1.3, right.
Okay. 1.3 or 4.3?
1.3.
So today it's 1.3. What you're saying is, or maybe what I'm hearing you say is, you would want the electors to say, let's raise it to 1.6, but that 0.3 difference specifically is earmarked for general assistance?
Emergency assistance.
That's what I meant, emergency assistance.
Correct.
So if you bring in $1 million,
I don't think you can do that.
$300,000 is gonna
I
go
don't think they
to.
can do that.
We don't have to use that percentage, we can lower the
I
percentage.
know what I'm saying,
You know, like,
Chris.
Yeah.
But you're saying you specifically want to separate emergency assistance from the general township taxation portion?
Added to it. I don't know if it'll fly, but we should let the electors decide. Again, that's just my, you know, where I'm coming from.
We don't have.
And there's 4 of us deciding how much we want to help our neighbors.
According to the attorney, going to the electors for what you're asking seems like more of an advisor capacity, like you said.
That's all it is.
You're
Just
saying, hey,
advisory
here's
question.
how
I
we
don't
want to
know that there's
allocate the
a legal
budget. Do
avenue.
you agree?
Because you've got other, 2 other situations going. You have funds within general assistance right now.
Correct.
As you accumulate those funds, you have to be careful that you don't over accumulate those funds too, because there may be
Yeah, we're
syndicate.
not.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So if you go out and increase that tax rate, you better be prepared to be spending those dollars in order to do that. But I think, getting back, I would probably suggest you probably add an advisory question to determine what your constituents are looking from you to use those funds amounts for versus go ahead and just increasing the tax rate altogether.
Does the rest of the board have a problem if our attorney writes that up for us? As an advisory.
So again, just to recap, and for anybody listening, John, what you're asking, just tell me if I'm going on the right path.
We
What
can
you're
start as
saying-
an advisory first.
What you're saying is, at our last budget session, we, the board, tried to determine how much of our budget we were going to allocate to emergency assistance. You are saying effectively, either A, we come up with the amount and then seek the electors' opinion, or B, you're saying you want to allow the electors to choose the amount.
We should get,
Well, the
the
question
electors should tell us how much we should be trying to
Then the
spend on
why
emergency.
weren't they at the budget meetings?
You can't have an open-ended
Right,
question.
you
have to
can't.
the advisory question is a 5% increase. You have to determine what the question's gonna be.
Well, I'm not against that, I just think we need more input from the electors, is all I'm saying.
And I think they should have been here during the budget planning process and put in their 2 cents of saying, no, you know, you're putting too much in general assistance, you're putting too
I
much
think-
in.
You know, I'll go down that road too. I'm gonna go down that road. I think, and unfortunately, I was elected as a board member and appointed as supervisor. But I think they elect us to do a job on their behalf. The question is, are they willing to pay an increased tax rate to help their neighbor? Bottom line, how much of that money is only determined by the number of people coming through the front door looking for assistance? You know what that's been for the last
Ask
5
the
years.
electors that show up at the annual meeting,
Correct.
right?
Well, there's another approach to this. Next year, we do the budget hearing. we're gonna tell them we're thinking of getting rid of emergency assistants, come in and get us your
So you're
opinion.
gonna get rid of
We'll pack this
emergency
room.
assistant?
No, I'm just saying that's one way to pack the room, to get their opinion. The
That's
same
how
thing
they
happens with the
pack,
bus.
that's how they
You're-
pack the
That's
road.
how
You're
they
headed
pack
down-
for the
you're
bus.
Let's
headed
go back
down
down
the
where the
road.
bus was.
That, you're headed down the Bobby Anderson Road.
No,
We're gonna use that
Very
term.
slippery
You're
slope.
headed down that road.
I see where,
I
I
didn't
see where
wanna
John's
say it,
coming
but-
from.
He's
Listen, we
trying to
sat-
get the
scare
electors'
tactic.
attention.
Well,
Because
yeah,
that's how they got the attention of the electors
Yeah,
when the
this
bus
room was
program
packed.
was.
No, we sat at the budget meeting, and I think the amount was
We're not
either,
trying to get rid of
the current budget was
I'm
100,000.
trying to increase it, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do.
What about solicitation from your constituents through email? I mean, do you have a method to?
No.
Okay, so just to confirm, we had the budget meeting. The old amount was 100,000 a year in EA. The township supervisor wanted to raise it to 150. We had conversation, hey, 150 may be too much. We ended up landing on 125. John, what you're saying is you want more people to have an opportunity to say, hey, either 150 is good, 125 is good, maybe we don't think we should raise it at all, maybe we should keep 120. You want public opinion on
Correct,
that.
correct.
I don't disagree that that may be beneficial, but to Gary's point, and Dennis' point, nobody showed up to the meeting.
Nope.
And we don't want to position it as, we don't want anybody to ever think that the board is trying to take things away like our predecessors.
I said that wrong, we don't want to
But-
threaten with that, there's no doubt about that.
But putting it out on some sort of referendum, like that only way, according to the attorney, that would be useful is if we wanted to increase taxes, and all of us agreed this year that we did not want to increase taxes. So I think there's validity to what you're saying about inviting them in the meeting, like, but we already released the meeting minutes or the agenda ahead of time to say, hey, here's what's going to be discussed. If nobody shows up, I think that's proof that they trust us to make the decision.
And if I might add, if 125 was the number that you kind of set on, just because you've set that number, that gives you the authority to spend it, doesn't mean you actually have to go ahead and
Well,
spend
yeah,
it.
they had to spend it.
No, but you got it, which then is a separate issue of
Right.
funding it and raising the taxes in
Correct.
order to get those dollars. But if you've got the funds and you're budgeting, I mean, so if you've got a budget at 150 and you're not getting pushback, then you can always budget for it, but then spend less.
I make a motion to kill this discussion on emergency assistance.
I'll second.
There's a third.
All those in favor of the motion on the table to discontinue the discussion on emergency assistance?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no nays, the ayes have it, it's done.
Who was second?
Adam, I believe, John made the motion and trustee Shaver made the second. I'll let you guys take 9.3. Discussion on elected officials' salaries, or I'll make the motion for a discussion on elected officials' salaries.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of discussion for the salaries?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Since the attorney's here, I had an idea today, and I don't even know if it's legal. So that's why I'm glad you're here. What's the truth? Seeing that our road commissioner and Gary and everyone else, the salaries were cut in half. Can we, as part of the new salaries, decide that over the next 4 years, we want to give them a 10% bonus the first of the year to make up for the money they lost? Is that something that's possible?
Are we talking about setting salaries upon the new elected positions?
Well, that's, yeah, it's the only thing we can talk about.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, you can set whatever you want.
Well,
But, John,
Jim
you gotta
lost
be sure-
$100,000 over the past 4 years, and I'm just throwing out a number, okay? So my point is, over the next 4 years of Jim's salary,
There's no
There's no
cap.
guarantee.
There's no cap or limitation on what you may set for the salary on that future round.
Correct.
So if you wanted it,
well,
whatever.
sure, there's
Yet they
a
would get a set salary plus
Plus a
2,500
bonus.
every year for the 4
for
years.
next 4 years.
You can do that.
But that's my question, can we give them a bonus on top of their salary, because they lost money for the past 4 years?
So-
Didn't make as much
so-
money as they should have. Let me say it that way.
What you wouldn't say bonus, what you would say, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but you would say year one, it would be this, year two, it would be this, year three would be this, and year four would be this.
Exactly.
Total compensation,
Total
not
compensation.
salary plus bonus, you just give the total.
Okay,
So
well,
you would
that's my
say year
question.
one
That's
is
how
this,
the
year two, this,
resolution
year
is
four.
made up.
So this is that salary for this position for that term.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yes.
Right, sure. Go ahead.
Trustee Bartlett, can I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
None of our positions are guaranteed, so to make that type of a, motion, although from my
It was a
standpoint.
question. It was a question.
From my standpoint, it's greatly appreciated that you would take the time to think about that, so don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. But there's no guarantee that Jim Condon will be reelected as the highway commissioner, or Gary Barley as supervisor, or any of us as trustees, any of our elected positions. So, as much as we would appreciate it, I'm not sure that you should go down that road.
It's a question. I'm just, it's an idea. I was just trying to think out loud.
It was very nice of you. It happens once in a while.
So you all received a worksheet, I believe, where you guys had requested the salaries. And I don't,
It's not finished.
it's not complete. There's some
We just
holes in
started
it.
it.
But you can see that, there's some salaries for the assessors clerk and the trustees, and then the highway commissioner salary survey. I need to give you a copy of that.
I have it, it's in with the
It was in
board
with,
packet.
yeah, okay, it was in with the board packet.
Yeah,
That's
it's
where I got it
with
from.
Jim's,
Yeah, so you've seen his information that he's put together too.
yeah, we're gonna add it to the one, so it'll all be
Yeah.
on one sheet.
So that's the point. I still think that from where we are, as I can speak for the town fund, that we need to look at what our budget is this year. And if you're looking to, as one of our constituents and township residents said, is they were comfortable with the salaries that were being paid at the end, before our salaries were cut in half. The people were okay with those salaries. The new board came in, cut them in half. If you put those salaries on top of our budget, what does that do? What type of money do we have to levy for? And then on top of that is, what projects do we have going forward in the next budget that we're gonna have to budget for? Meaning that, as the supervisor, I no longer want to cut into our reserves. We're at 5.5 months. We're at the rock bottom. We can't run any, or if you go down to 3 to 1 month's worth of reserves, that's sketchy. And as a supervisor, I'll not put a referendum out there to bond for any money and borrow money. I won't do that for the town. So I think that this is a great discussion we're having. I think that what we need to do is a lot of homework between now and then and understand it before we snap to a decision on what we're gonna do. We have to understand how to make it sustainable, because when you give it away, you have to be able to carry it for every year forward. And anything that goes on top of that in the future is obviously built on top of that. So sustainability has to be there also. And how do you get the township residents to understand that, it costs money to run the township from a road district, and also the town fund. And you have an assessor's office that runs too. So I can't speak for her, but we need to make sure that we're not eating up our reserves. That's the end of my speech.
Hopefully we'll have the rest of that all put together for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
it's just taking time. A lot of the folks aren't responding. We've pulled the ordinances off of their websites and things like that. I need to get on the
Some
phone and
have
call my
them.
fellow supervisors and get the information directly from them. There's also some other questions that I'd like to ask them. More guidance questions as far as things that are going on and what their constituency is wanting from their townships. So that's my perspective.
Supervisor Bartlett, can I be recognized?
Road Commissioner Condon, yes, you can.
I think you should go to the podium.
I'm just trying to be respectful. The
Yeah.
last board was very particular about whether the highway commissioner talked about.
Yeah, we accept that.
The one thing that I wanted to point out was that the road district has not contributed to the highway commissioner's salary for the past couple of years.
Yes, we were.
That's because it was cut in half. And then fine, that means that we have to take that money that we're not spending and pay it to other people that do the job that I was cut in half to do. So, I would tell you that when we consider the highway commissioner's, portion or pay or whatever, reimbursements, whatever, that the township road district would then, assuming it goes back to what it should be, the road district would be contributing, if I was the highway commissioner, would be contributing their half of that. So just keep that in mind. That won't be a burden. I don't believe that would be a burden significantly on the township at all. I believe that it'll go back to a 50-50 split.
What it used to be. The only thing I'd like to get to discussion is we have all the new homes getting built in the township. And we don't know how much our tax, is gonna go up, our income. That's one thing I'd like to.
If I could comment on that.
Yeah.
Our tax doesn't go up. We set the amount. It doesn't matter if you build 5 million houses. The amount that we collect stays the
It's a
same.
percentage though, is it not?
The only thing, no, the amount that we collect stays the same. What changes is the percentages of what every person pays. For instance, our EAB is at $1 billion. We build so many houses and it goes to $2 billion. That means that everything that's big of the township would be cut in half had we kept our rate the same. So don't be confused by that.
I've asked that question several times. It's the first time you've
Now, this is,
explained that way.
we set exactly what we collect.
Right.
The rest, who pays what, is set by the pie of the EAB, and depending on what your property value does, that's your portion that you pay. We set the amount we collect, not anything else.
No, it's the first time it's explained that way.
So, just dovetail on that, so that
Yeah.
amount that you set, so it's a calculation, so the amount that you set, as Conan pointed out, is equals to your tax rate times your EAV. So if the EAV goes up, your tax rate goes down. If the EAV goes down, the tax rate goes up. That number's still the same over here. Yes. The one.
That's the first time it's explained that way. I've asked that question several
But
times.
the then the interesting part, it's a little bit of a interesting piece when it comes time for the extension to come out, because there's 2 things that are going on. There's the CPI calculation that's all going on. So so when you look at your, how much are we going to get for next year? Because that's going to be your next question. Well, then how much are we going to get for next year? Well, it's going to be a function of the CPI, or what you levy at, whatever, it can't be more than 5%. So if the CPI is at 7, you're only going to get 5%. It's going to be limited to that. However, there's also new growth that's then taken into consideration. So that goes to the value of those houses that are being built now. That's kind of a side factor that will increase. You'll get a little more that year, and we won't know what that is unless, until the assessor gives that information to the county, and we can do that calculation. So instead of maybe 5%, it's 6 or 6.5, maybe 7. Something like that. But you're not going to get some large number.
And that number comes from the county?
That number comes from the assessor, who turns her numbers in saying, these are the new properties that are coming on board in addition to the EAVs that we've calculated. And then they give them to the county, and the county puts it in the
Puts that sheet together.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I have a question. So when the former board cut the salaries, did the former board do anything to reduce the tax intake? So did we collect less in taxes
Yes, they did.
as a result?
Yes,
Yes,
they
they
cut the
did.
levy.
So, to Gary's point, for us to go back to the old amounts, we'd have to say, hey, okay, you guys said you're okay with us going to the old amounts. That will mean that inevitably your taxes are going to increase, correct? Am I looking at that correctly?
Unless there's so much new growth in EAV,
Jim's got something to
Well,
say.
that's not correct at all. That's not,
Okay.
you were 100% wrong. They cut the taxes for 1 year. As soon as you became a board, we went back to what the taxes were before they cut them. We didn't raise them, we went back to what they were.
Fair.
So, basically, the township has benefited from, for lack of a better word,
A lower.
people just wanting to do good. I'm going to say the truth. I like to do my job. That's why I'm here.
Yep.
And I suspect Gary took on this job because he likes to do. He believes in doing it. Basically, we decided that it was more important for us to commit to the community and do what we do because we love to do it than it was about the pay. So the tax rate, what you're discussing, what you're pointing out, is irrelevant. It was a 1-year drop is all it was. The next year, we know that it was not practical to operate the way the knuckleheads, as I would call them, pointed out. And so we're back to that. That's not what happened. So.
Okay.
Jim, I want to point out the trustees come here because we like to as well, and we're not getting a dime.
Hey, you know what? You are exactly right. I got to tell you, you have to scratch your head. Okay, we come here once a month, plus several hours during the month to be a part of this board. You are dead on that statement right there. I could not agree with you more. I was a trustee for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, whatever years. And yeah, you spend time doing it, and even the rewards before they cut it weren't that great. So it was a public service, and again, the knuckleheads weren't quite smart enough to realize.
You're being nice when you call them knuckleheads.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll make a motion to continue the discussion at another date as more information becomes available. If I can get a second?
Second.
Is this going to be a undetermined date?
Yes, to be determined upon information availability. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No opposition. Motion passes till we get more information. We'll put it back on the agenda. Okay, item number 10. Proposed agenda items for next monthly board meeting. No new items? Is what I'm hearing. And then the two are based on, pickleball's based on updates, and then 8.1, the RC truck. We want it on or
Based on updates.
okay, so they're both, it's fine.
So both of those are on the next agenda.
They're not, you won't know right away until
Get more information.
we get closer to the date and they have more information. I'll have to let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, supervisor report. Any questions?
I do get one.
Yes.
Where do we stand with the dog sign?
Dogs.
Yeah,
On the what?
the dogs are allowed in our park. Where do we stand with those signs?
Talking about
We
like
had talked
signs,
to put the
bag
signs up,
holders,
that the baggies, the people, we had talked about that. It's got to be 4 months ago now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's dog signs. We need to get a
I'm going to
quote.
call them dog signs. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to get quotes and
Clean up
bags.
after your dogs.
I did, Gary, is there a specific dollar amount for those quotes, like that it's gotta be over for us to need a quote? Because I even just looked on like Uline's website, and they
Yeah.
sell a pole with like a little garbage can in the bag holder, and then we can get the sign custom made by whoever.
Yeah, I'll put that in Eric's court.
I can't.
Next meeting. He can.
Can you donate them?
I'm going to discuss the donation here.
Okay. So one of the items for the agenda for next month is going to be an update
On dog signs.
on dogs allowed in park. I don't know if you've been here during a baseball game, but it's a dandy down there.
So is the parking lot.
Those dogs are barking and wanting to hate each other.
Where do we
It's great.
stand on Jim's,
State lawsuit.
for his compost?
The Eric and his department and Jim have discussed where they want to put them, and I guess that's going to go along the road. Now we just need to figure out where we're gonna get the cement blocks from. I mean, it's not along the road, excuse me. Go ahead and help that.
So, if I can be recognized once again, I will be honest with you, what I believe what you're referring to is just to the left of the senior center.
Correct.
Where we currently store that. I am not a fan of that area. I'm not sure, I mean, that was an easy access for a certain situation that we had. I personally would not recommend putting it there. And I've talked to Eric, and I think, and he probably hasn't had a chance to talk to you about it, but I personally think there's a better location for it, and that would be as you go down toward where our storage building is.
Correct.
There's that area to the right, and I think that would be a much better place to put it. It's out of sight.
By the volleyball courts, what are you talking about? I'm not,
Kind of near that. And you know what, I would glad to show you on an aerial photo or whatever, but I do not like that next to the fish food pantry, you know, eliminate parking stalls and stuff. There's another place that's better,
well, yeah,
that's well
I had
shielded.
thought by the volleyball courts is where I was thinking.
Yeah, it is kind of that general area. As you pull up to our storage building there,
Right.
to the right of it,
Yeah,
it kind of goes up the hill, and we had sand stored there for a while. It's before you get to our building there, to the right, that stretch there. And so what I had planned on doing was putting together a plan for the construction of those blocks. And from the concrete block standpoint, the Township Road District would cover the costs of that. And actually, we would probably try to do as much of the excavation that's needed, because it goes up to the slope and that. We would plan on doing that ourselves, because it's a road district function, especially with storms and stuff, that we continually are taking care of that kind of thing. And so, my opinion is our responsibility, and you're kind enough to give us the space to put it, and then the residents benefit from it. But I do not like that, what can be an eyesore right next to the fish food pantry, and I think it's much better
No doubt.
placed over there.
I don't disagree.
But do we really
That's
need
where I want.
the other garden site anymore?
The what?
The other garden site that we have that's in the corner there. It's further,
You mean the original garden?
yeah, the
site?
original garden center. Do we really need that anymore? I don't think it's being used.
What are we gonna do with it?
We expand it to Jim's.
No, we would be further to the north of
He's
that.
talking further back.
Yeah,
further
push it
back?
back towards
Yeah.
the
Well,
side.
originally that's what I thought as well. I'm just, you know, I'm just trying to get more space. That's all. Fruit tree.
Okay. So those were the questions you had regarding my report. So just something that you guys need to be aware of, that we've been working with, it's the county board, and it's the, what's it, independenthealth.org, this Age Strong and Senior Services, these
That's
open house.
Northeastern Illinois on anything.
Yeah, so there's a group of organizations, and we are included, that are going to be holding a series of open houses for the county board members. And we're going to have an open house and partner with Senior Services here in the township on June 26th at 3 p.m. It's to invite them in and share with them exactly what we do together, and show them that funding is needed for the services that we do provide. So that's been going on in the background. November 12th and 14th, 2023 is the Township Officials of Illinois Educational Conference. If you are
If
aware of
anybody
that.
wants to go, please let me know ahead of time.
Where's it at?
Springfield.
When is
Same place.
It's always in Springfield.
Can we eat a Cracker Barrel?
November 12th.
Okay, we're moving on. Okay, yeah, we're not.
In November. 11th and
No.
12th, I think.
Hey, we got it.
Okay, just so you're aware,
Sure.
we work with Northeastern Illinois Food Bank on food scarcity. We worked with them and have provided some funding to them to make sure that the local food people here in our township have food available through the two pantries that are located here. We made a financial well, not a donation, but we contributed so that they can make food available through our assistance programs. The renewal of our COI came through, and this is nothing you guys want to know about. And just so you guys have an update, I don't know if you guys remember, and I'm bringing it up just so that if it ever happens again, we'll know what the sign on the fence from the Moose regarding their car show created a sign ordinance violation in the village of Johnsburg. So I was contacted by the village of Johnsburg, and they let me know, and they were very nice about it and asked if I had given them permission. Well, nobody in the township had given them permission to put the sign up. Complaint was made, so they went to the Moose, and the gentleman who was working on the car shows, I guess, over there, was like willing to pay the fine out of his pocket if we could leave the cup sign there. So in being a good neighbor, I said, absolutely, it's not hurting our fence. Well, the village ended up killing it. So they stuck to their ordinances, and that type of sign is not legal. So the cup sign came down. But again, I totally understand everybody's positions, and the Moose apologizes to us that we got brought into it, but they're a great neighbor that we need to continue to work with, and so is the village of Johnsburg, the city of Mchenry for that matter, and actually everybody in the township. That we just need
That
to.
sign didn't bother anybody. I mean, those cups look fine up there.
It is what it is.
It's just,
It is what it is.
Too much government.
Yeah. Okay. Supervisor's report. If there are no further questions, we'll move on to the assessor's report.
It's in your packet. She had another meeting tonight, so she apologizes, she couldn't make it. But if you have any questions, just reach out to her. She will be glad to answer any questions.
Let's see.
Texas Highway Commissioner, he's here.
Yep. I will recognize the highway commissioner in his highway report.
He's supposed to have
You hit my written report. I don't really have too much to add to it. Things seem to be going very smoothly. It's really enjoyable. Hopefully, I don't know if you've been down to the park or to the township, the fish food pantry area, and the assistance that we provided with that. If we weren't in the middle of a drought, it would be really green right now, but the guys, I think they did a very nice job. I'm amazed with the road district staff and their ability to finish a project like that, and the grading and the ability to make it look good. It's just unfortunate we haven't gotten any rain because it was really nice right now. But anyway, it's nice that we continue to work together for that stuff.
Yeah,
And I would be glad to answer any questions you have on anything moving forward.
We certainly appreciate all the assistance out there, and without any rain this year, they're not sitting in 6 inches of water either. We fixed that. It's the year you fix it, you don't get the water.
Right, exactly.
You know? So I appreciate you helping us on that too. The ball fields look good, and it will grow back. I promise.
I think it was before this board, but it's interesting. It's very nice to see when the road district and the township work together. One of the softball fields was continually inundated with water, continually. And we worked together and we put a drain tile and things into that field. And it was this first field as you drive down there on the right-hand side. And it is bone dry. It's worked out so well to work together like that. And so it's a lot of fun to do projects together and actually solve problems together.
Okay, if there's no questions for the highway commissioner, I'll move on. No reason for executive session. Last one is any board member comments?
I should have brought this up earlier. We need to discuss parking. You know, you brought up the dogs barking and stuff, but we need to discuss parking like during our ball games. Gets pretty packed back there. And I think there's a couple things we could do to open up more parking spots.
I'll give you one more minute. Got any ideas? Let's hear it.
Yeah, the Salvation Army, they should park on this side instead of that side.
It's not Salvation Army.
Well,
that's
whatever
Catholic-
it's called.
That's Catholic Charities.
Catholic Charities, you're right. I mean, they take up 8, 9 spots down there. There's no reason they can't come up
I
there.
think they have, Eric's already moved them. to
Last time I
somewhere
looked, they were
else.
still there.
Yeah, they were there last night.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll, I've had that
Maybe
ongoing
it's
discussion.
unloading. It could be unloading when they're doing the, food
Well, during-
pantry is open.
well, I understand.
That might be when he moved them.
Yeah, that one was that one.
That was a.
So the second one is overnight parking is what John's referring to during the summer when the ball fields are being used.
Yeah.
Is you want them to park on the opposite side of the building closest to us in that, what I'll call, where Jim wants to put his bins.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I'll talk to Eric, we'll get that resolved.
All right.
Any other board members with comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
as you guys know, I'm passionate about playing harmonica. I bought 200, and I'm going to get involved with the senior center, teaching the seniors how to breathe through the harmonica. The concept is when you first start blowing up a balloon, it's difficult the first couple puffs. Then as your capillaries and vessels open up in your lungs, then it gets easier and easier. And by playing the harmonica for the seniors with COPD, respiratory issues, anybody who needs more oxygen in their blood or heart issues, it will be beneficiary for them. It will be beneficiary. So I bought 200 harmonicas. They're good harmonicas. They're not cheapos. They're not toys. And I'm going to start working with the senior center and the Veterans Hospital, the VA up here in Mchenry,
That's great, Mark.
and start that program. I will give people harmonicas for free.
I will be there.
And I'll spend an hour a week at least, and it will be at no cost to anybody.
What a guy. That's a great idea.
And we're working with Lisa Geisler down there to set up a meeting next week with Mark to get that ball rolling.
That's awesome.
That's
We tried this week, but we fell short, unfortunately.
Do we know who's replacing, what's her name back there again?
That's just Lisa.
Oh, that's Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa Geisler is the new coordinator down there. Yep.
No problem. Janet, that's her name. Right? Was it Janet that was down there? No, it wasn't her.
Jane, oh, you're talking about Jane Gregory?
Jane.
Yeah, that was Jane.
That's what I was talking about. was
You have Lisa as the new activity director, and you have Rhonda as the new manager who took over for Rita.
Really?
Yeah, Rita retired.
Motion 16, or item 16 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have none. Motion passes.
Any more time?
Appreciate it.
I think you guys